Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Zion Dew. My name is Kanyi and I'm going to be sharing faith stories. I hope that these faith stories are going to encourage you. The hope is that as you listen to these stories of what has happened to people like you and I, you're going to be encouraged to pursue that which God has called you to. The Bible tells us that without faith, it is impossible to please God. I'm going to start with a preamble. One time, I needed to travel, and a friend of mine had told me he was going to take me to the airport. But on the day of traveling, he got held up. So what he did is that he sent his friend to come and take me to the airport. Now, this friend of his came early. He got there so early, and we didn't quite have a rapport. So we could not hang out, like, you know what I'm saying. So we went to the airport. So I got there early. I was like the first one to check in. So I get to the counter and I show them my ticket. And this lady looks at my ticket and she calls her boss. And she says she has a standby ticket. I'm like, huh? And then the pastor looks at her, then looks at me and says, give her a ticket because she has come early. I had not known that there was anything like standby ticket. I did not even know what that meant, but I got myself a ticket. And I really thank God that that happened. So I knew there was a reason my friend did not come, and there was a reason he sent his friend with whom I had no rapport. Because imagine if it was the other way around. So I really thank God for that. On to my story. The first story I'm going to share is a story about traveling. I love traveling. If my parents had known, they would have called me Nyagodi, but they didn't, and it is just as well. So now there was a conference that was going to happen in Addis, and I knew the invitation was open, but I needed the necessary permissions for me to be able to travel. I needed to hear from the Lord and hear from the organization and go, but I knew that I had been invited. So I began praying about it. I began asking the Lord to open the door because I really wanted him to say, yes, you can go. And then now I start praying for permissions from other places. As I was praying, I was talking to other people. There was one particular person that I had been mentoring into this department. And they were feeling like they didn't want to come because it was going to take a toll. And I was encouraging them to just come because it was going to be an awesome opportunity. One, to be able to socialize, to be able to learn from others, to receive encouragement, and to share what the Lord had already put in them. So as I did that, I began praying. And the Lord says, I want you to raise funds for that particular person to be able to come. And I was like, how do I raise support for someone else? What if I have to go? I will also raise for myself. But I decided, let me obey. So I obeyed and I began raising support and I got to a certain amount and I told the person in question that I am raising this for you, so I believe you're going to be able to make it. And his faith was boosted, he was encouraged and he began. And let's just say, by the time that the conference dates were nearing, the ticket had been reduced by more than 50%. Remember, I have raised X amount. He has raised X amount, and then now it has been cut, so it became very easy for them to travel. Then it was time for me. It was like about a week too. That is when I get the clearance that, Liz, you're going for this thing. I was happy. Now, the icing on my cake is that I didn't need to raise any money. My ticket was fully paid for, and I really, really thanked God for that. So now, on the way, I carpooled with a friend, a colleague, and I had not checked in online. I was waiting to get bonga points Zandege, you know, those miles. I don't know what was wrong with me because I thought that if I checked in online, I would not be able to benefit from those miles. And so I did not check in online. So my colleague was asking, Liz, have you checked in? I'm like, no. We'll get there on time. So we got an Uber. This Uber guy, he was not listening to us. He was doing what he wanted. We tell him, use this route. No, this one is better. So, you know the way you don't want to push and pull with people and it's early morning? So we did not push and pull with him. We just sat. We would eat stories so that we are not thinking about this. Then we're getting late. First of all, by the way, he had gotten lost when he was speaking at the first person. Getting to their place, he had gotten lost. So that is where we lost most of the time. So anywho, we get to the airport. We get to the gate. And there are so many cars. And I'm wondering, what's going on? But somehow, I did not connect that because this was a Monday morning, there are many people who are traveling. Now I know better. That time, I did not even see it. When we got to the hall, that is when I almost fell. The place was packed, like to the gate, to the door of that room. It was packed like this. So I've not checked in. It's already after 6. Our flight was at 7:30. It's already after 6. So I get in and I'm trying to check in, to check myself in. It's not working because it's already too late for that. So I get onto the line. My colleague had already checked in. So she went to the immigration line. Me, I queued on this check-in queue. And then I'm just seeing the time. And I began praying, oh Lord, I know you have approved. I mean, there's no way you can pay my ticket. There's no way you can give me all these assignments and I do them and then I miss out on going to this thing because I got late. There was no way I was being left behind. So I was praying, oh God, make a way. Then I got to a corner and then I turned and there was a staff on the side. And I told her, excuse me, my flight is at 7:30 and I think I'm going to be late. She lifted up the barrier and she told me, go to that counter. So I went to that counter. I got to the counter and there were 2 people. I think it was a couple. And they were talking back and forth with the lady at the counter that they had been left, that the gate had been closed. The gate to their flight had been closed. And the lady was saying, but I announced, where were you people? And I'm thinking, bas, I am finished. Then I think she was, you know the way you're having a conversation with someone and you're not making any headway. So she just turned to me and she asked for my passport. She did not even ask what my issue was. She asked for my passport and I told her my flight is about to leave. So I think I was a welcome distraction for her. She took my passport and she told me, she issued me with a boarding pass and she told me, run to immigration. Don't even check your bags in. Run with them. Go all the way. Somehow they're going to sort you out. And I was like, oh my word. So I ran with my bags. I went and passed people at immigration. I went all the way to the front. And then, not knowing that my colleague was still in the immigration line. So she saw me running with my bags. Now, because I had my bags, everyone was letting me pass. Nobody was saying anything. Isn't God just good? So anyway, I got to the immigration. They stamped my passport. And I went up and I went telling people, oh, please, excuse me, please excuse me. And they'd excuse me because, I mean, why do you have so many bags? I was looking a bit weird. So they let me, and then I went all the way, and I got to the gate, and we were the last ones. I called my colleague, and I told her where I was. Then eventually we linked up, and we went to the gate. We were the last ones. And then we got in, and the bus took us to the airplane, and I was not left. Now, this is where the story is. My colleague was so sure there was no way I was getting on that flight. Why? I mean, when you look at things on a natural way, there was no way I was going to make it into that flight. Because, I mean, you're supposed to check in, or those days, that was pre-COVID, you're supposed to check in at least 3 hours before the flight takes off. Us guys, we got there after 6, and our flight was at 7:30. I mean, was there any possibility? But God. So she told me that I did not think you were coming. In fact, I was praying that the Lord would comfort you, that the Lord would touch your heart, that if you need to change the ticket, the Lord would provide the money. That was my prayer for you. But this is amazing. So I really thank God that He allowed me to go. I went to Addis, we did the conference, and I knew the Lord wanted me there. I knew what He needed me to do, and I did it. Okay, so my brother, my sister, I do not know what assignment the Lord has given you. But if you believe that this assignment is from the Lord, please pursue it. It does not matter what things look like. It does not matter what other people are seeing. But because we know that our God is faithful, Let's trust Him. Let's build our faith and let's pursue that which He has called us to. Some of these things, they will bring us joy. Some of these things are going to cause us to be fulfilled, but only if we have faith to pursue that which God has spoken over our lives. May the Lord bless you. May you have a faith-filled week. May you have a faith-filled day. God bless.